background, politics, news, just some of the highlights of the week, stuff that people have talked about, all that kinds of stuff. The biggest, I think, story that came out for politics during the week was the Trump address to Congress. There was a lot of stuff that happened on there. I don't want to focus on all of the
Yeah, if you follow Trump at all, right? Or you followed what's been going on,
DC.
you know what he talked about.
You know what he talked about. You know what happened. There's no reason to rehash any of that kinds of stuff. There was, a lot of craziness. We wanted to focus on the positive, and the specific moment there really was a heartwarming moment, especially me, being a dad and stuff. The DJ Daniel moment. If you don't know, that was a young boy, multiple surgeries, brain cancer, came back from it, and he's still living his lifelong dream to be a police officer.
Yeah, to be a police officer.
And they took a moment to honor him and made him an honorary Secret Service agent. And as part of the clip, when they showed that, it wasn't just the surprise and the just the shock on the young man's face. It was also the look of proud, that the overflowing proud feeling from the father holding up his son.
Just the hug that he gave what's his name?
The Secret Service.
Yeah, the head of Secret Service.
They gave him his badge.
Yeah, they gave him his badge. Yeah, the hug that he gave him, you could see the joy and appreciation there, I think. Right. And it was really heartwarming for me. I'm a father as well. It was a really big deal to me. And then if you see later on when he's in the Oval Office and he gives Trump a hug, I mean, it's really...
It's a moment. You can tell it really meaningful. Meant something. And when you have that genuine moment where it means something like that, it's a special thing, and you don't get that too much nowadays, especially when it comes to all the pity back and forth that's in DC, and that's really what stood out.
Yeah, the stuff that kind of stuff to me really matters.
Yeah.
Really, like I said, I think about it since it happened. I've thought about it every day because I'm so happy and impressed by that.
Right.
That I haven't seen somebody do that in a long time. So outside of there's a lot of actors and a lot of athletes that do stuff for kids a lot and stuff, but you don't see politicians do it all that often.
No, yeah.
So
that was good.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
So it looks like about 900 agencies have so far done that with him, wow. Which is pretty awesome. I know I saw a picture of him with the Texas Rangers.
Oh, nice.
And that was really cool.
That's another one. Yeah.
And a year ago, the reason that they did this is there was a video that went viral of him being bullied. And he was being bullied by,
that's a shame.
Some
people
really
people in his
nice
community.
People in his community. Great job.
Yeah.
Bullying a little kid who's a cancer patient.
Unfortunately,
because they're misdirected, and
right.
God help them. Those people. God help those people and lead them in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because it must be terrible to think that way.
I gotta say, and it's hard, man, because we all did stupid stuff when we were kids.
Yeah.
And we were just fortunate enough to not have cameras everywhere and do it.
But I'd like to think, as terrible as I was, I never would have done that.
Absolutely, probably not. But
now if one of my friends came around with a uniform on, which one of them did,
right? Depends on what time of my life.
They would get, there would be some problem maybe. But anyway. But that was heartwarming. That was really cool.
Yeah, very much so. Something else that jumped up was the Epstein list. Big disappointment that was, and kind of after the blowback, they kind of decided that we're gonna release more. That the stuff that I released, that Pam Bondi released in the so-called Phase 1 was stuff that's already been out for quite a long time.
Except for 10 pages. Except for 10 new pages, really in those 10 pages there was 2 snippets of info. I think I had watched a clip of
as far as
a couple names.
The most updated information that I seen was Pam Bondi. I think it was today or maybe it was yesterday. She made an announcement that she was going to release some more. Yeah, it should be on her page, Pam Bondi. But she was letting everybody know that there still was going to be redactions.
And there has to be for the victims.
It's not on attorney. Maybe it is on Attorney General. She was kind of saying that there was, planned that there's going to be not just for victims, but there's going to be redactions because of national security, which was a big letdown.
Because some of the real names can't be released.
Well, I don't think it's because of the real names. I think it's real names, right? Well, that's the reason why, right? Is that the rich and connected that are involved with this probably made a backroom deal, whatever that meant.
I mean, I'd like to know.
It's just a shame, man. I don't
what
care.
happened to the piles of tapes,
right?
That came out of that dude's place.
And this is my perspective on it. I don't care if it's right. I don't care if it's left. If you're doing that kind of stuff, man, you need to be, let's break out the wood chippers.
100%.
That's it. I don't care who you are. You're involved in that kind of stuff. That's why, we were talking about Red Hot Chili Peppers, man. It's just, and it's kind of inexcusable, man. Bring out the wood chippers.
Yeah, and I'm very, with the Epstein list and stuff, I am understanding about some of it. For instance, Donald Trump flew on his plane. He did not fly to the island at any point.
Right. There's a difference between...
And he's admitted going from Florida to New York and back and forth. And not just him, his son was on there, but not going to Pedoville Island.
The way I look about it, when I look at these
and I'm okay with, there was a, what's his name? There was a musician who flew out once, came back, and never go back out. I don't have a problem with that. If you end up going out for a legitimate, who am I to say that you didn't go out for a legitimate party? You had no idea, or you did have an idea and you're like, hell no, and you left.
Right. Well, that's it, right? You got to take in context.
But if you've been there 29 times, who?
Yeah, right. That's it. And that's the thing. There's a difference between if you're hopping on a flight from Florida to New York, if you're hitching a ride, and then there's a difference where if you went to the island once. Or if you went to the island 29 times, there's a reason you're going back.
Yeah, once or twice is something that, depending
even
on
twice.
Well, you just never know. It could be a legitimate thing twice. Maybe. But I feel like
once is enough to raise my hackles, man. That's enough to raise suspicion for me. After that, there's no excuse. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm maybe there. Hey, there's the picture we were just talking about earlier, right there.
Good job, dude.
Great shot, man. Yeah, great job.
Look at the dad there, man.
He's
Look
so
at how
happy.
proud that
Look
dude
at his
is.
face.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Epic. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is epic. But yeah, so I'm really hoping with that. I feel like I wish that they were a little more. I guess because the importance to me is pretty important, right, to a lot of us, and I would like to see updates more daily, constant, right, almost hey, this happened, and this is why it happened, and this is exactly what's happening. This is the steps we're taking, and there has been that. It's just not as fulfilling as I would like it to be, I guess.
Yeah, it's just this was this is like a.
But everybody knows the top names are on that list. That's the problem.
And that's the thing, Yeah, I just man, I want these people to get their comeuppance, man. That's it. I'm not gonna judge them, but they need to be known. They need to be, exposed for who they are and what they do. I'm just
100%.
Yeah. Yep.
So what's your feelings on it? I mean, write it in the comments. What do you think?
You a fan of Epstein? No.
Yeah.
No.
Don't write that in our comments.
Yeah. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
No.
Jail.
Yeah. Right. Pretty much. But yeah. So as we get more information, we'll post more information here because this is a particular item that's pretty important to both of us, and we want to make sure that we get all the information out that we can.
Yeah, and I'm fully I have no attachment to anybody.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi, I hope she does a great job. But she's got to fulfill on what she says.
Yeah, got to fulfill those obligations.
She's got to figure it out.
No matter what that takes, man.
No matter what it takes. Same with Cash and everybody else, Tom Homan, everybody else that's in there.
Yeah.
They've got to do their jobs. And
I
do not care what your name is. I don't care what side you sit on.
Right.
What I care about
is doing what's right.
Do what's right. Yeah,
that's
100%.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. No, so we'll shift away from politics. That's enough, man. I can only take so much of that stuff before my stomach starts to turn.
Well, I guess that is.
Yeah, we can move over to some entertainment news. There was the Act Blue stuff I wanted to get into. Matt didn't know too much about Act Blue, so I figured I'd do a quick rundown about it. We'll go through it a little bit, talk a little bit about it, and then we'll move on to some more news or entertainment news, that kind of stuff. Act Blue, basically, quick rundown, is the apparatus, the online apparatus where Democrat parties from top down collect online donations, right? There was a pretty big scandal if I remember right, about a year ago, 9 months ago, where James O'Keefe, the O'Keefe Media Group, went through and exposed a lot of what looked like purely fraudulent donations, where they would come in and they'd find some lady or some guy that was 75 years old, and they're like, hey, can we talk to you for a moment? Hey, did you donate? And they're like, oh yeah, I donated $25 once a couple of years ago. And then he would come up and he'd pull up their specific, because you can look this stuff up online, he would pull up their specific donation history. And it turned out like one lady donated $200,000, like $100 at a time. And there was days where like she would donate, 50 times in a day for small amounts.
Oh,
right.
wow.
And this was like, he had, the ones that he showed on the video was like 6 or 7 old folks that they were taking advantage of and doing this stuff. So I believe towards the end of last year, Texas, their Department of Justice announced that they were going into investigations, which has since been raised to the federal level. And now that there is investigations going on there, that there's been a lot of folks at the top that have started backing out. A lot of stuff's getting deleted, stuff's disappearing. Some of the heads of Act Blue have stepped down.
That's always a good sign.
Right, that's always a good sign. So since June 2004, it looks like they've raised $13.7 billion for candidates across the United States in their infrastructure.
And they charge almost 4%.
Right. So what's that 4%?
Well, I did the math. Let me do the math in my head. Oh, I actually did it on my phone. It's about $21.3 million.
Yeah, that's a nice payday.
That's not bad. For
nice
I do think that maybe I should start a 501c and make
501c4.
$21 million. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, well, USAID's gone now, so the free money.
Dang, I'm not going to get the money.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
So well.
I'm just interested to see what's going like this. I've got, like we were talking about before, I care about what's right. This is kind of stuck in my craw, because where's this money coming from? If you have 75-year-old man, 80-year-old man who's donating $2,000 a day, and he's 20 times a day, he's he's supposedly giving donations. That's just where's that money coming from? That's what I want to know. Is it coming from overseas? Is it coming from places that it shouldn't be? Obviously, it is, because they would just give the money if it was from a legitimate source. But like, is that money that's being laundered through?
Well, this is real nice right here, right?
What's that? Go ahead,
Stolen
read it.
identity theft, and then that person whose identity theft was stolen was donating to the to Act Blue.
Wow,
That's convenient.
That's convenient.
Interesting.
I just,
it's super.
What I'm worried about it is, with all the USAID fraud that's going on, well, fraud or misuse of funds.
Yeah, I would say misuse.
There's no evidence
they were being
of fraud.
allowed to do it.
Right.
So it's not fraudulent.
Right. No evidence of fraud yet. Right. So they're still looking. I'm pretty sure it's coming down the pipe, but we won't, for instance, for interests of being accurate. I want to know, is money from our government going to Act Blue? Right. I wouldn't be surprised of that at this point, if it's going to, an NGO, and then all of a sudden they've got this bank of people that are funneling that money back through the Democratic Party. You know what's going on. There was a story coming about, there was a story that came out a few months ago about that there was money from Ukraine, the war effort that was finding its way back into the United States.
I mean, I would not doubt it.
Anyway, I don't care if it's right. I don't care if it's left. But this kind of shenanigans, man, has got to stop. It's time for,
Well, I'm all about helping people. I'm just about helping them here.
Yeah.
Because, you have to clean up your house first before you can do other things.
I get...
We have a lot of house that needs to be cleaned in this country. And,
right.
If there's veterans that are dying of drug overdoses or mental health problems or whatever on the street...
Or North Carolina.
And we're sending money for whatever.
Right.
It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what it is. If it's for food for other, I don't care what it is.
Right.
We should be taking care of ours so that we can eventually maybe spread that goodness other places. But we're not good right now.
That's what really lit a fire under me about this kind of thing when I saw what happened to the folks in North Carolina.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
There's people freezing to death out there. Americans freezing to death. And
well, that's a whole nother thing.
And
right?
be like, oh, here you go. Here's a check for
Here's $700, dude.
$700. Yeah. I know you lost your kid last night because he froze to death in your tent and you're trying to stay warm, but like, here's a check for $700. You know, don't spend it all in one place.
Right.
Yeah, get out of here, man.
Here's billions for whatever program in Uganda. I mean, who cares?
Right. No, and
I mean, no offense to anybody in Uganda, just you know, we have to focus here first, and you know, that's what I want. I realize that my tax money is not actually going to any of these things because this is all borrowed, but eventually.
I've had a long history of disappointment and anger and frustration when it comes to bureaucracy as a whole. There's not just as a personal note, there's not a time or a chapter in my life that I haven't tried to move into where the government hasn't actively tried to step on whatever I'm trying to do to make it harder or financially difficult to do. So this is from high school on. You know, so a good 30 years of just
I'm very
making problems.
Very libertarian, so I believe in volunteerism in terms of taxation and instead of, you know, stealing it and putting you in prison for not paying it.
Absolutely.
So that's just, you know, like I said, I believe in a lot of crazy things too. So it doesn't mean I'm right. It just means that that's how I feel. So when I hear things like this, I'm like, yeah, there should be checks and balances and
there should be
the propaganda that we see on both sides. It doesn't matter what side. There's crazy going on both sides, and there's a lot of infighting. And but what's actually happening, you know, anytime that there's an audit of something, the only people who are scared in the audit are people who are scared of who are doing things bad.
You hit the nail on the head there, and the point that you made, and I just want to reiterate that is that there's going to be money spent, tax money that I don't agree with. There's going to be tax money spent on things that you don't agree with.
Yeah, like all of
That's just going to, right. Well, not you, I'm the colloquial you out
everybody.
there. Right. And looking at that, it's not the money spent that's the issue. We can talk about and discuss where the money goes, right? It's the complete and utter breakdown of the checks and balances that made me support the just let's shut them down. Department of Education, EPA, IRS, start going down USAID. There's FBI. Close it down. You know, the complete and utter breakdown of the checks and balances and the ability for them to self-regulate that has totally failed has changed my opinion on that to where I'm at the point where we just need to get the government almost as small as possible at this point.
I'm not, I think it's easy to say that, you know, it's easy to see as well that throwing money at things doesn't make it better. There has to be a plan of action, you know, in place, right? And we see this in with, you know, homeless in California and stuff, you know, the amount of money that's thrown into that is insane. And nothing happens because people are incentivized to allow it to continue because they're being paid to do it. It doesn't work.
There's a great story that stuck with me long time ago when I was living back down there. It was the LA County. They were having problems where they had there was a big street and they had two buildings on opposite sides of the street where a lot of the government business was going on. And they were having problems. There were so many homeless on the streets in between these two buildings that the bureaucrats going from building A to building B were having problems and getting assaulted and robbed and stuff, which that's horrible, right?
Yeah, it's terrible.
So the city got together and made a plan to fix this homeless problem, right? And they decided we're going to allocate $7 million to fix this problem, right? All these homeless on this road that are getting in our way. Do you know what they did? They spent the $7 million building a sky bridge from one building to the next instead of dealing with the homeless problem.
Because it fixed their problem.
Right, it fixed their problem, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about. That just encapsulates totally
that's government.
What I'm talking
about. Right
now.
Now.
Right,
you know,
exactly.
And like I said, I'm not... I'm very libertarian. I believe in volunteerism, like I said, but if you're going to take my money, please put it towards something that makes everybody's lives better. Here, on the ground level, the people who are paying the money.
Right.
And it's disgusting to me to
And I might not agree with it.
Never happening.
And
yeah, I might not either,
but
for sure.
Here, at least spend it here on something.
And not to mention, if something's not working, you have to be open to changing it.
Right.
And they're not.
Right.
Ever.
It's just like, well, that's
throw more at it.
Been going on in 20. Well, and that's funny. That's like a saying in business. It is if you're in business and you have a problem, you do two things: one, you throw people at it, or two, you throw money at it. That's like the general idea of problem solving in business.
And then you become Kmart.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And you go. Right. So anyway,
excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so there's a lot there. But I just wanted to draw attention to Act Blue. The investigation's going on. People are, the rats are jumping off the ship. Hopefully we'll have more, information when it comes to that to kind of bring it back around. Just because, I think a lot of the corruption problems will go away if we can get a handle on the financial aspects of it in the government. So that's why I'm kind of supportive of what Doge is doing in the government. They don't have any ability to actually do anything, just to bring it to light. And I think that's an amazing thing, because people need to see that.
I think that if you have a problem with it, you should ask yourself why.
Right.
And really look into it. I mean, are you okay with not having a say in where your money goes?
Right.
And then are you okay with where it is going? And then if that is the truth, are the majority of Americans okay with it? Because that's where it comes in. And I'm not okay with my money going just about anywhere.
Right.
Okay. But I'm an American, and I realize that that's not real. So my voice, I want to have a voice in where it does go.
Exactly.
And if 60% of the population decides that they want money to go to Uganda to go fund whatever, and I'm on the losing side, the 40%, I'm on the losing side. I'm on the 40% side. That sucks. But that's not what happened.
Right. No,
that's not what happened. And polls show that Americans do not want to be doing that.
Yeah, it's not what happened. You had an unelected group of people that just said, hey, we've got this big pile of money. We're going to just
Rand Paul has been calling to this stuff for, 10 years.
Right.
He's been reading off these accounts on the congressional floor.
Well,
I listen to him a lot, right? Reading these things, and he'd be like, can you just justify it to me? And nobody can, right?
Right, of course
not. And, he's been doing, he's had so much to say about it. There's a new thing. He's been reading something new constantly. It's never stopped. And his dad before him, right? So it's kind of...
it comes back to the accountability thing.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, be accountable.
You have this whole Act Blue thing going on.
Yeah, do what's right for the American people. Be accountable to the American people. That is your job.
That's the bottom line, right? For instance, love him or hate him, Dinesh D'Souza, which in all disclosure, I've watched a couple of his videos.
Pretty good pronunciation.
There's some of the things he says that, are like, okay, that makes sense. And, I can see where you're coming from. And then there's other stuff I'm like, I think you're jumping to conclusions, right? In all honesty. So, but there was an instance where he was wrong, where he asked a friend, I believe it was, to spend money on his behalf, and then he refunded his friend because he was trying to raise money for a friend of his that was running for office, right? And the letter of the law is that is illegal, right? That's considered, donation in kind. You can't do that. Spend almost a year in jail, right? But then you've got this $13 billion, and nobody bats an eye. And I think that's an issue. I think that's an 100%. Issue. And if there's going to be any, what's the word I'm looking for? If there's going to be any legitimacy, right? I guess is probably the word. There has to be accountability, if that makes sense. 100%. I guess that's kind of where I want to wrap it up.
It's got to be equal.
Yeah.
On all sides here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So we'll shift gears on that. I think that's a good way to stop. Good place to stop there.
For sure. Yeah. In the comments, what do you think? Yep. Do you enjoy being taxed? Maybe you do. If you do, hey, you know what? I know a lot of, that's a lie. I don't know a lot of people that enjoy it, but I know a couple people who do not mind it.
Yeah. Let's talk about it, right? Yeah. Have a discussion.
And like I said, I'm open enough to where my mind can be changed on some things for sure. Yeah. I do see benefit in some social programs. I almost threw up when I said that, but it is true.
Yeah,
I do see the need, I should say. If they're done right, then I'm okay with it.
That's the key, right?